That's Heidi's favorite thing. I got napped. Amen.
Yeah, favorite thing to do on a hot summer day.
I did that just today, Luke. I put the fan on the floor and I just laid out.
Oh man, that's how you gotta do it.
Serious. Aaron getting fancy with that
Ice
whole
cream.
Yeah. But Aaron, it's probably pretty cold right now in Australia, right?
Hi, Christine.
Watermelon and mint. That sounds delicious.
Whatever, water balloons.
Ooh,
Oh,
baked
Carol after my heart. A movie in an air-conditioned theater. Mag gin and tonic. Yes, please. Mm-hmm.
Well, Angie, that sounds okay. All right, so while some folks are still rolling in, we had this idea that for the summer months, we want to try to mix it up. So we're doing soft bulk goes to summer camp. And the idea is just lay back, a little more fun. We're gonna try some different things. Like in just a moment, we're gonna play a game, which I thought of. It was one of those last things I thought of before falling asleep last night. So you know it's gotta be good. First though, is anybody here for the first time? Raise your hand. We won't call on you and make you talk, but is anybody here for the first time? Hi, Marilyn. Welcome, welcome. Okay, well then maybe we'll do some introductions real fast.
Sure.
To introduce ourselves to the new folks. We're so glad you're here. And then we'll play our game.
Yeah.
So I'll start. Hi, my name is Zach Foster. I make modern improv quilts out of repurposed materials. I love making memory quilts, and burial quilts have become a recent specialty of mine that I'm excited about. I'm getting ready to leave full-time teaching that I've been doing for 18 years and go full-time textiles. I'm also excited about that. Thank you. That's me in a nutshell. This is my friend Heidi.
Yeah, I am Heidi Parks, and I am here visiting Zach in Brooklyn, but I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I do a lot of hand piecing and hand quilting. I was a high school art teacher for 9 years, and I've been a quilter professional quilter for 7 years. And I love teaching quilting and exhibiting, and that's enough for now.
Very good. There's more to come.
Yeah.
Heidi's my first house guest in 17 months.
Whoa.
Pretty excited about that.
This is my home away from home in New York, that's for sure.
Luke, who are you?
Hi, well, my name is Luke Haynes, recovering architect living in Kansas City, working with quilts as a medium. Yeah, who knows what that even means right now? The last sort of year and a half have been all over the place, but I just put together a huge show in Kansas City, so I'll show some images of that later today as kind of my contribution. But yeah, I use a lot of almost exclusively reclaimed clothing in my work as well. Lots of portraits. And Russell.
Nice. Hello, I'm Russell Barratt. I am originally from Scotland, but I live in London, in the UK. I've been quilting and textiling for about 6 or 7 years. I have a background in props design and costume design, and I've always almost exclusively used clothes and thrifted fabrics. And I've just continued as I've sort of fallen in love with quilting. So I'm sort of a newbie. I feel like I'm very new, but I've been doing it for a wee while. So yeah.
Russell, I also like how and appreciate how if we didn't know that you were in England, you have the silhouette of a dapper gentleman just on the back. I think you can
noticed that.
just in case anyone needs to know that just in case they miss the introduction, they know exactly where you are.
He's joining. It's my butler. It's the butler.
Standing off with just a tray of tea when you need a cuppa.
I love it. Well, a few weeks ago, Luke and Heidi and I were sitting around chatting about what we want our next topic to be in softball. And we stumbled upon the idea of the joy of quilting. And Russell, I'm going to tell him just a little bit, because when we thought about joy of quilting, the very first person to come to mind was Russell. And I said, I've had a social media crush on this fella for a long time. Let me reach out to him because I want to get to know him better. And I think you do too, because if you're familiar with his work, he is an artist obsessed with polka dots, and I look forward to hearing more about that. And just like the energy you bring to the game, Russell. So I'm really glad that you're here. Thank you for tuning in.
Pleasure to be here. Delighted. Delighted to be in such nice company.
You say that now. Wait till we get to the questions.
All right. Well, with those introductions done, can we start our first ever softball game?
Yeah.
So here's what I'm thinking. We're gonna play Pictionary on Zoom. Raise your hand if you've ever played Pictionary on Zoom before. It was a hot pandemic thing for a minute. Okay, good. Well, let me introduce you. Okay, so we're gonna play 4 rounds. Each one of the featured quilter artists here of softball will get to draw 1 picture. It will be a piece of quilting or sewing terminology. Okay, the first person to guess the right answer by typing it in the chat, no calling out, please just type it in the chat because we need the official record. The first person to guess correctly what's being drawn will win a prize. The first prize is my latest zine that I've been working on with Kim Soper of Feel Good Fibers. She's an organizational genius, and so she helped me come up with her top 6 tips for organizing her creative workspace. Nobody has this yet, but it could be you.
I don't even have one yet.
I know. Okay, so up first, Heidi, do you mind being our first artist?
I can. Okay.
So
You're just gonna whisper to me or something,
yeah,
right?
share screen. So you're playing for.
Oh.
That's where I'm from in North Carolina. We were doing a little test before the call.
Right.
Okay, you got your marker?
I do. I got a good color.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Audience ready? Remember, you're typing your answer in the chat. Good luck.
Okay.
You're doing.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. Oh, you gotta have the chat open. I'm sorry.
Oh, can we do that
Chat.
at the same time? Okay. All right.
Okay. And then scroll up to the bottom.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. Nobody guessed it yet. Based on.
Keep going. Keep going. I see you, Carol. Oh, Tirsa! Brava, Tirsa!
She used the right word.
She knew it.
Yes.
She knew it. Okay, Tirsa, email me or Patreon me or whatever. Get in touch and I'll send you the PDF for this.
Okay.
Okay. Now I feel like we should also say that starting in round 2, should somebody win twice, so Tirsa, if you win again or if somebody else wins twice, not only do you get the zine, but you get a complimentary 30-minute one-on-one creative consultation with me. So Tirsa, stay in the game. Don't go anywhere. Okay. Luke.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Let me stop
Okay.
sharing.
Private message Luke.
Okay. We're ready? Okay.
Luke, you know I love you, right?
Yeah, I do. Well, we'll see about that once this
What do you
comes up.
think?
Okay.
That's tricky. Maybe just that.
That's too easy.
That's too easy? Okay. All right.
There's ways he can do it.
Okay.
Where's my? Oh my gosh! Hold on a second, y'all. My. Why
All
am
right.
I?
Tyler, do you see my message to you?
I do. Oh my God.
I know, that's what I thought.
Okay. All right. Now
You're an architect. You got this.
Oh boy. Okay. We ready? I guess I'm mostly asking that to myself here. Okay, so you guys can see my screen.
Yep.
So we've got. Oh, with my trackpad, it's going to be very great.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay.
Nobody's even tried to guess yet.
Hold on.
I'm working. Well, there's look, you guys, we'll get there. Don't even worry about it.
Close.
So.
We're close.
All right. So we've got just here. I'm setting the scene right here.
Oh, I know what he's going for.
Okay. So
Look, I
now,
got you.
I see it.
so we've got.
Micah, nice answer.
Okay. So then we've got.
What? Oh my Lord.
So then now it's really important.
Does that count?
I don't know.
No.
It's the long way around.
Yeah, well.
Hey, ding, ding, ding. Tirsa.
No way.
Good job.
I didn't even get to the part with the bias part. We got to the binding. Oh my goodness.
You drew that little diagonal seam. I thought maybe that's key.
Yeah, well, it was. We were getting there.
Okay, cheers to you and me. Gonna be spending some quality time here real soon. I like that. Okay, Russell,
Right.
you're ready.
Go for it.
Let's give him.
What's the?
Can you type that?
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
Sean?
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna type that to Russell while you say what the prize is.
Oh, and the prize for this one, yes, I should say. Thank you, Heidi. Heidi very generously has offered up one of her quilt patterns. So either the vignettes pattern or the
Moon improv pattern.
Ooh,
Whichever one.
I want to see that. I
all
want
about
to see
you.
Mhm.
Share.
All right, Russell, you see that in the chat?
Yep, got it.
Maybe Christine's got the pattern.
I feel like this is going to be really easy.
You guys better be quick on this one.
Ding, ding.
Oh,
Laura.
Laura!
Ooh.
She's in Chicago.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Rotary cutter. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Now, it wouldn't be fair for the camp director to get to pick his own prompts.
Sure. Okay, so I got to whisper something?
Do you have something in mind?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Let me get up my screen first
Okay.
so I can be prepared.
Okay.
Are y'all having fun? We're having fun. Okay, what is it? Okay. I got it.
Wait, you got to roll up the chat
Oh.
because I can't see what they're chatting. Okay.
Zine.
Is it a zine?
Zach
Good
Zine. Thanks,
guess.
Christine.
Aw.
Oh, this is so cute, y'all.
That looks right. Oh,
Somebody got it?
Melissa got it. Quilt block.
Melissa, quilt block. Congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, so everybody who won, make sure you email us or reach out to us in some way. You know, there's multiple ways. Email,
Mhm.
Instagram, Patreon, ESP, smoke signal, barking, whatever you like.
Yeah.
And we'll get you your prize.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm all
All right.
warmed up.
I know. All right. So on to, I'm going to share with everybody a little bit in the theme of summer camp and me hanging out at Zach's house, which is kind of why we thought about summer camp. So I'm going to share just the things that were in my suitcase that were connected to quilting. So I am here to attend a wedding for my stepbrother, and as their wedding present, I'm giving this framed quilt. So this is back when I did the backs real fancy with quilting tacks, and I like hand stitched the mitering there. Let me just change to speaker, or actually replace spotlight altogether. Oh my, okay. Move spotlight and now place. Okay, there we go. So that's the back with my quilting tacks. They're hand stitched fancy. And I liked this one. It's titled A Couplet because there's two birds right there. And I thought that's kind of like a couple. I made that a couple years ago. Hand stitched, embroidered name.
Is there batting in that, or is it just?
There's batting. This is one that I did put backing on, but as things have progressed, a lot of times now I don't bother with the backing fabric. I just let the batting be visible because I feel like you never get to see that. And it's sort of fun.
And you can still get the volume of the batting without needing the back.
Yeah, yeah.
It's cool.
This is we're coming to you from my computer. This is my computer koozie. So it's a quilted case that I keep my computer in. It's all hand pieced. Well, 90% hand pieced.
The truth comes out.
Yeah. I think there's one seam from the machine.
Did you have a pattern for that, or did you just kind of?
Oh, I just winged it. Yeah. So you can see the inside is different and the direction of the quilting is different there. So I made it as one big rectangle, and then I folded it in half. So like this is the middle, and I folded it both ways. And I stitched, well, first I stitched it into a tube because you can see how smooth that is on both sides. So I made it a tube. I folded it in half, and then I put it on my computer, and I just kind of stitched the bottom here. Like I just pinned it in place and then stitched it. Amy, you've got a question. Unmute. What's your question, Amy? Amy's still muted. But if you want to unmute, you've got your hand raised, you can ask.
Yeah,
So-
we definitely envision this as being more of a casual,
Yeah.
informal conversation. So feel free to chime in anytime.
Yeah.
Hand raising is probably a good way to do it because we are a sizable crowd, but
Mhm.
we'd love to hear from you.
All right, so this is my bag of sewing that was in my carry-on, Art Institute alumni fabric bag. And this is my sewing kit, which we can get to in a minute because that's the most exciting part. But this is a big bag of scraps. I talked about these last month when we were talking about zero waste. So these are all the little teensy bits of white cotton muslin that I get when I am cutting off the backing and other various things. So I've got so many of these, and I thought it would be sort of charming to reassemble them into some yardage and have that be the quilt that I'm working on while I'm traveling. So a little different for me as a travel quilt. Normally I do a base fabric and I add to it, so I know what size the quilt will be when it's done, and this is more of an additive thing that I'm up to.
Which is what I like to do with my travel quilts, right?
Mhm.
You know, the idea of sometimes limitations can be the artist's best friend. And when I travel, maybe I'm going to be in a place for 10 days or 2
Mhm.
months or whatever. The quilt will just be as big as it is on the last day of my trip.
Yeah.
And then it's done. Then I'll go home and piece it. Quilt it.
Yeah. Yeah, and this could be a little one. I've been trying to challenge myself to make more little things too. So I've also got my dress for attending the wedding, and I still have a little bit hemming to do. You can see the difference between where it's hemmed by hand on. It's got a 3-tiered skirt. This is I'm gonna be a bridesmaid in August in Boston, but I get to re-wear the bridesmaid dress before the wedding, which is a first for me. Normally they always say you're gonna re-wear the dress, and you never do.
But you will.
So yeah, I've got about 4 feet of binding yet to
Look
do.
at that beautiful
Yeah,
running
hand
stitch.
stitch.
So do you know how to do a rolled hem?
I do, but it just didn't. This is such a big skirt, you guys.
Mm.
It's so big,
much.
and it was too much.
Too
It was
much.
just too much. But I do know how.
Rolled hem is one of my favorite hand stitches to do.
Really?
Like when you're making handkerchiefs or
Hmm.
bandanas or headscarves,
Mhm.
because it's a little piece of couture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's so satisfying. Maybe I'll make a little rolled hem video for y'all.
yeah. Do that while I'm here so I can see.
All right.
So highlight though is my bag. It's a Clinique makeup freebie bag. And on it is my hand-shaped nail clipper. So because when you're on the airplane, if for whatever reason you lose your scissors, you can always use a nail clipper to clip. And I love that this one is a hand
It's cute.
shaped.
Is that Korean?
No, actually my friend Anja had one in her home. And I
Heidi,
saw
we have a hand up. I don't know if it's pertinent to what you're showing, so maybe I was just
Oh, yeah.
figuring that out.
Joya.
Yeah, unmute.
Hi, Joya.
I was just curious, technicality, when traveling on a plane, what type of scissors do you get to bring? Because
Oh,
I've always wondered and it's always held me back.
this is the one I have, you guys. I love this
Okay.
scissors. So you can, in America, you can have up to a 4-inch scissors. Now I lost one of these in India because I didn't realize you can have no scissors at all. So I lost several pairs of scissors while I was there. But I think this one's 3.5 inches. And this Westcott scissors is like you get 2 for $10 at Office Depot or off, and it's like better than the Ginger ones and the other scissors. These, I love them. So
Thank
that's my
you.
scissors. Yeah, you're
I would
welcome.
also just chime in and say that sometimes
Mhm.
we know the TSA rules better than TSA agents.
Oh,
And I've had them take big scissors from me, even ones that were under the 4-inch mark. So I tend to travel with that size, what blade. So the scissors.
I
like
tend
that.
to not bring the ones that I'm really emotionally attached to. Like my
Yeah.
friend Fran gave me an antique scissors that's shaped like a crow. You know, most of them are like historic. So that one I do not carry because I don't want to lose one that I really love. These I have a lot of them. Okay, there's another scissors in here too. But I've got, this is the sewing that I did. I did not get much sewing done on the airplane. We ended up doing other things, but I got a couple seams. I'm starting to sew something, and I did all like pretty to pretty style so far. So I have that jammed in there. And I'm going to be a guest at a wedding. So I have a little bit of silk and some white thread in here in the event that the bride should need anything. Like I'm ready for her. Okay.
I love that. I love that.
My mom was and I were caucusing before. Okay. And I've got my navy blue. This happens to be floss because it was the closest blue for the dress. This is what I'm using for the dress. And this is my acid-free marker that I use for very rarely writing. I almost never use this, but when I do, apparently mice like the taste of Sharpie markers. So when I'm doing like my label for QuiltCon or other things, I like to use this acid-free archive. See where it says archival ink on there? That's important. Okay. I have 3 sizes of bamboo.
This is like a clown
embroidery.
car, Heidi.
Yeah, this thing is so good. So 3 sizes of bamboo. The smallest one's real small. You can see. I have a bunch. In addition to that white one, I got 4 other colors of DMC size 8 floss.
Heidi's favorite.
You guys know I love that one. Okay. I got a crochet hook that I probably will also not use, but sometimes if you're fishing after something, it's useful. Got my applique pins. I like these a lot, especially when I'm using a hoop. They don't get stuck on things the way that a straight pin
They're
does.
so tiny.
I know. Oh, you don't have applique pins, Zach?
Y'all see
They
that?
are,
Look how
they're
tiny.
like, look at that compared to my pinky finger. That's the baby finger. They're so good because they don't, the thread doesn't wrap around. I'm going to give you a couple of those
Yes, please.
because the thread doesn't go around them.
That's smart.
I learned that from a student in my class at the Wisconsin Museum of Quilts and Fiber Art a while back. So here, this is like a little saliva test thing that I never ended up using. And so in it, I've got some of the big long straight pins and also a seam ripper. And so I can just like pop out whatever, but it's small and then it fits in my clown car. I've got my needle case that I made myself. So that has all the needles in it and a snap. I have a couple snaps should I want to make some more needle cases. No felt though. I got my SD card that I forgot my adapter. So anyways, I just need to edit these. This is not normally in my sewing kit. Small scissors.
Mhm. That's the size I travel with.
Yeah.
That usually
small
makes
one.
it by.
I've had that one since college, actually. Got a ballpoint pen. I got 2 pairs because God forbid one falls and then you can't do any more sewing. So I got my favorite Little House gripper, clover, thimble. So 2 sets. I also have the thumb-sized Little House gripper. Got a brand new ruler. Probably not actually brand new. I probably just folded it back. Perfect. These are some threads that I thought would be interesting for my travel quilt because they are a gift from L.U. Hernandez, who taught you how to harvest thread from jeans. So that seems like a nice full circle thing for while we were here. Got my gua sha, which is good hand yoga tool. I need to make a hand yoga video on how to use this, but it's a really wonderful tool for working out some of the tightness that I get in here because I've been, see how that all moves when I do my fingers?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you ever use a corner or is it just the edge?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. Actually, a really good one is to like use this rounded part and you kind of dig in.
It's called a what?
A gua sha. 2 words like G-U-A space S-H-A. Okay, we're almost to the end. I've got some safety pins that I pin on the side there. And the very last tidbits, another crochet hook, a loose needle, a puller, my Wonder clips. I like those a lot. Those are real good. Oh, and these little sticky thimble things that I also never use. So I could clean this out again probably. And usually I would have a bone creaser in there. I don't know why it's not in there. But that is the tour of all the sewing things that I brought with me to New York.
I'm wondering if anybody else out there has like a piece of essential gear that they always take with them. Because I was sitting here watching, I'm like, okay, what do I carry around that Heidi doesn't? There's nothing. Heidi's got it all. But I'm wondering if somebody else has a good idea. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's fun to see the whole bag.
And I learned something new about applique pens.
They are awesome. They're awesome.
Yeah.
I link to a lot of the tools and just little things like this that I get questions about a lot. I have an Amazon shop page, so it's Amazon shop / Heidi Parks. And it has links to 90%. Not that I buy them all through Amazon, but at least then you know like which one it is and what it looks like.
Any questions for Heidi about travel kits, sewing kits?
Oh, glasses. That's a savvy.
Amy, yes.
All right.
Well, that was neat.
Yeah.
Thanks for opening the proverbial underwear drawer and showing us what you carry
Right,
around with
that's
you.
everything.
Yeah. Okay, so in a similar spirit, I thought I would take you back to my sewing space. Heidi has volunteered to be my camera person. Disclaimer, I didn't clean anything. So this is real life. Are y'all ready for real life?
Okay, I'm gonna mute here and add the volume over there.
We can't hear you at all. No sound. Russell and I can sing for you before you get the sound. We'll do a little duet, Russell. You want to do a round?
If I know the song, I'm happy to.
Now you can hear me.
Yeah.
There we go.
So
That's it.
Oh, no, maybe.
okay.
All right, we're gonna be back now.
Okay. How about now? Aaron, is that good now? Can you hear us?
Yeah. Now let Heidi, if you can go back and spotlight his other phone.
Okay.
Oh, let me make sure you spotlight it.
Spotlight me.
And again, Russell and I are on for singing anytime there's headspace. So.
Thanks for bearing with us, y'all.
Oh, there we go.
Okie dokie. So here we go. We'll back up just a little bit. So as you can see, we're just going to walk through the kitchen real fast. Nothing special to see here, except, well, I'll show you this embroidery. This I found at a flea market once. And I love the idea of yours is the earth and everything in it. So sweet. It's a line from a Rudyard Kipling poem. A little bit fraught these days, but still like the line. Okay, kitchen, blah. We're not here to see kitchen. This is my tiny, tiny workspace. And I'm actually going to hand the phone over to Heidi now so that I can be front and center. As you can see, here is my grandmother's sewing machine. She's 105 as of last April. And she got this back in the 60s in my hometown, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And probably one of the last things she sewed on this machine would have been my baby clothes in the 1980s. And it is a wonderful machine. I would say, though, it has one funky thing about it, is that it still requires cams. So if I want to do a zigzag stitch, I have to put this piece in, right?
Oh.
So, and I have to change the needle plate. So, you know, it's got its little idiosyncrasies, but I still like it. It's a wonderful, strong, sturdy machine. And if Heidi, you'll zoom in close, they're really fun embroidery stitches, like little dogs and little swans.
I have little dogs on my old one. Yeah.
So this is my grandma's sewing machine. This is the light that makes me look so cute when I'm talking to you on IG Live.
And this is what you're looking at. You're looking at the pantry.
Yeah, the trash can. We don't show them all that now.
Recycling. Very recycling. The recycling's 3 times the size of the garbage.
Wow.
Somebody is paying attention.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's about priorities. Okay, so let's start here. This Chester drawers, as we say in the South, Chester. This is where I keep my sewing fabrics. All repurposed materials for the most part. So it's shirts cut up and sorted by color.
That is real pretty.
Thanks. I won't show you. I will show you the other drawer so we can keep it real.
Yeah.
But what I try to do is shirts are really hard to store unless you cut them up because the collars get so bulky, the plackets in the front are bulky. So cut them all out, fold them up nice and neat. I could do a video for that later to show you how to do that. And then you can keep them all nice and organized. Sometimes my system breaks down, as it has here.
You got the cool colors.
The blue-green drawer, and then inaccessible at the moment is the black and white drawer with the purple and brown. Then on top. These are all the cute things that are hiding under the junky things. I will show you, this piece is special to me because I got this in France. The summer I was wolfing in France and working on a farm, and somebody was just throwing this away. And I said, this would be perfect. It still is, for my safety pins.
Oh.
Here is my bulletin board, inspiration board. I keep poems there, gifts friends have made for me, inspiring things. My sweetheart crocheted me that last Valentine's.
Travis is the best.
Yeah, he's the best. He's at the gym
Crochet.
right now. He's at the gym right now. Our friend Allie made me this recently. Allie from the
I
Mercury.
got something like that from Allie too.
And then this is from an artist who I really admire, Robin Dick. She has a lot of fun collage work.
That's 3D too.
Yeah. Then one of the best ways I've found to keep multiple projects going at the same time.
June to-dos.
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay
Yeah.
on that. Clean apartment before Heidi gets here. Sorry.
You did that.
Ish. Okay, so one of the ways I find to keep multiple projects stored and organized at the same time actually turns out to be these Fresh Direct bags. You know, we had a big Instagram conversation a couple months ago on what to do with these bags, and I'm still collecting them from my neighbors. Here's what I've collected since then. I'm taking these to the local food pantry that's just a block away, but they are the perfect size for holding fabric. And so like I have backing sheets, some I use for backing in one, flannel sheets that I'm moving exclusively from using cotton batting to using flannel on my quilts. This is from a viewpoint of sustainability. This is going to be a beautiful quilt. Y'all look at this. Y'all are seeing it here first. Heidi hasn't seen it. So this is a memory quilt. And this woman sent me all of these bathing suits of her late husband. And so they're really wild patterns, really wild. And so I'm really looking forward to digging in and seeing what I can do with those. That'll actually be the next project I work on. But you see, I can keep, when customers send me their clothes, I can just keep them all in one bag and keep them organized that way, so don't mix and mingle. The last thing I want to do with the memory quilt is put somebody's bathing suit in some mama's quilt. You know, that wouldn't.
Amen. Yeah.
On the wall behind me, you see I have a big design wall. It's 2 insulation boards side by side, so it's an 8 square foot total. On the wall is actually not a quilt top of mine, but a collector sent me this recently, and I just thought it was so beautiful. And I also have a firm no blink design wall policy in this house, and so I put this up just to give us some color and some light. There's a few parts that I'd like to share with you just because they're extra special. One, Heidi was pointing out earlier that there's almost a central medallion here. You can see there's some lighter tones, kind of these lighter blues and these lighter pinks that make up the center medallion. One of my favorite parts is this square right here, where you can see how the black and white check, we have 2 different sizes here, which I think 3 different sizes actually. It's really sweet. And I love how these beige, red, and blue lines reflect and refract off each other. Feels like you're in a mirror fun house at the fair or something. And let's show them this, Heidi. Let's show them this.
Oh yeah, Angela says Burberry style fabric. It is.
There we go. There we go. Exactly right.
So I thought those were mushrooms.
Yeah, and maybe they are. I'm not saying they're not. I'm thinking they're trees though. And
you might have convinced me.
God bless them. This will never lay flat without a little bit of darting action. But I do love it. I do love it. So I don't know what I'll do with this quilt top yet. I've made a couple other pieces from reclaimed quilt tops where I appliqued letters on the top.
Oh, Angela says flowers and vases. It's entirely possible as well.
Angie, you might be right about that. Yeah. In the eye of the beholder, I guess. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to looking at this piece. I just noticed this for the first time. Isn't that funny how that happens? So this fabric looks like, this is actually like a bit of like maybe it molded or something before it got cut up. That looks like a very natural pattern.
Yeah, almost like what would be a natural dye now, but probably just happened.
Probably just happened. So this is a beautiful piece. Who knows how old it is, but I'm so thankful to have it. One really interesting thing is that this quilt is half machine sewn and half hand stitched. So it looks like it's mainly machine sewn, but there are definitely some hand stitching bits. You know, I won't be able to find. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right here.
You see some?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Right
So it's a combo. You know, sometimes we get tired of hand sewing. We're just like, let's just get this done.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know who made this, but I'm glad you did, and I feel your pain. Then over here, tour's almost complete because the studio is not that big. This is my combo all-in-one table. This is my ironing table, my cutting table. I've got some artwork from a good friend of mine.
Oh yeah, that's your friend Heidi.
Yeah, yeah. These, if you're ever interested in doing, you know, tabletop photography, doing like live demos or anything like that, it's really helpful to have a couple of stands like this. One to hold your phone, a nice little O-ring light. I love having these. This is almost how my table always looks. Always. I mean, I'm not our friend Audrey, who cleans her table all the time.
No.
Right?
No,
I'm
me neither.
always sliding stuff around and finding just enough room to do what I got to do. So I can go on.
You have this interesting back layer though. You're using the windowsill.
Well, I have to. I don't have any room. And let me tell you,
Your
things
paintbrushes,
always fall down back there.
your
Audrey-
eyeglasses.
Audrey would be happy to see the clapper for
Yeah.
pressing nice flat seams. I made this quill by myself from a feather I
Oh,
found.
that's beautiful.
It actually writes. And then what else do I want to show you?
You got your measure. You got your rotary cutter.
Y'all might recognize this from an Instagram reel recently.
You got your apple cider vinegar.
I don't drink a glass of water without it, y'all. I love it.
Your baby iron. I really like how you do that. I think that's very environmentally friendly.
Well, it
Don't use
uses
more power than you need.
Uses way less energy. I do have a bigger one for when I'm ironing large amounts of fabric, but for most things like little seams and creases.
Oh, look at this little shelf that's part of the sewing machine. Yeah. And this is just more fabric, like the print, the things that cannot be in the color-coded drawers.
These are the bigger pieces I might use
What's
for
in
a
that
bat.
big 5-gallon bucket?
So this is a batch of indigo dye. This is an indigo bat.
Well, this is your dye lab. Okay.
Yeah. So,
And you got some nice yardage over here.
yep. So muslin for dyeing. I haven't bought fabric in a long time. Y'all know that, but this is left over from the days, But I still use it from time to time.
Yeah.
If you got it, might as well use it.
Yeah, and it's just barely, it's maybe still zebra time. You guys can't tell, but I can see the shadows are a little
Zebra time
slanty.
for me is earlier in the day, a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
When the sun is just right, it's casting a shadow through the fire escapes onto the brick. And it looks like the entire brick wall is just evenly striped with sun and shade. So it looks like it's
Yeah, now it's like the floors of the balconies are making a mini zebra, but it's not as pronounced.
No.
Yeah.
So this is where the magic happens. I mean, it's nothing fancy. It is an eat-in kitchen in Brooklyn, New York, in a 1-bedroom apartment, but I make it work.
It is amazing, and thank goodness we have it documented right here, because in a few years you're gonna be like, how did I ever in that amount of square foot make all those quilts? But it can be done.
There's a lot of moving stuff around. So every time I do a photo shoot or anything like that, I got to drag all this stuff out. I got to move my sewing table over, but it's all part of the game.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Have a good time.
Yeah.
Hope y'all enjoyed it too. Thank you for watching. Feel free to send me in comments if you want.
Yeah.
I'll chat back.
Oh, look, here's my sweetheart Bo. Hi, Bo.
Hey, Mo.
And you guys probably saw before, here's my bed that I'm sleeping in. Okay. So let's turn the sound off on here first
hang up.
so we don't make. All right, we're back. I could not see all of the chat stuff, so we're just going to catch up. Laura says it's impressive you make large quilts in that small space. Your long arm is in the bedroom. That's not part of the tour.
It can be.
Should we? Let's just bring the computer.
Hang around at the end. That'll be the bonus material.
Hang around at the end and you'll see Zach's bedroom.
Take you back to the bedroom.
Oh, why do you drink apple cider vinegar? Says Amy.
Because our body is more macrobiotics than our bodies. You know, have you ever heard that if you deleted
Yeah,
all
we're made of
the-
more bacteria than we are self.
Yeah, and that if you deleted all like the skin tissue, the bone tissue, the hair tissue, etc., what you would see afterwards is like this silhouette of bacteria that inhabit our bodies. And so I just want to make sure they stay healthy. So 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in there. Plus, it gives the water a nice little clean edge.
Like every glass of water. So 8
Yeah.
glasses of water a day, you put 2 tablespoons in every glass.
Mm.
I had no idea.
That's also why I keep the lid on there, because it's kind of smelly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Looking out for my sweetie.
Yeah. All right. Onward to Luke.
All right. Am I? Oh, there I am, but I'm big. Hello, everyone. I put together just a couple of images because really I just want to hear from Russell and ask him a million questions about polka dots and inspiration and all of that. But I'll go ahead and use my time, no reason not to, just to show off the show that I just made, that I just put up
Yeah.
last week. I just had a brilliant show in a church that was repurposed into a boxing gym for underprivileged kids run by policemen. It's a lot of steps, but the whole thing is beautiful in terms of like how the support system works for a bunch of people. And it meant that I had access to this huge space for a weekend. I put up 60 quilts, hung it in a day, had a show, and then took it all down the next night. So it was a labor of love. But I was able to put up quite a lot of quilts. So I'll just show you a couple of the little installation vignettes from the show. Here you can see kind of it in the space a little bit, some of the folks who came out to support, which is really, really lovely. I covered the entire boxing ring in log cabin quilts, which is pretty fun. All right, now this is a little video if it'll play. Oh, there it goes. Cool. So one thing I did know was that there was this scaffolding in the back of the church that was in a place I wanted to project some videos. So it was actually just this big eyesore of scaffolding. So I made a quilt to fit exactly in that space. So I made this 25-foot tall self-portrait all made out of my clothing.
Just whipped it up to solve a problem.
Yeah, just whipped it up. Just a big...
in a week.
I wish it was only a week, but there, now you can see that sort of, so it's actually 3 quilts put together to make the 25, because I like a 90-inch quilt. That's the size that fits on my bed. So for me, that feels the most quilt a quilt can be, because it is actually this like hyper functional object. And I try to stick to kind of that size range just because it's the conversation about objectness within quilting. So these are actually 3 90-inch quilts that fit together to make one big tall me. And there it is, lit up for the show. We had a cool musician jamming out for the show, which was pretty awesome. And there's a kind of an aerial view of a lot of the show. You can kind of see.
Oh, I love that photo.
Where I covered the whole boxing gym in log cabins as part of a long running show that's traveled all over the world, actually, of these log cabins, where the rule is they don't get to be shown on the wall. So they have all of these really great alternative ways of showing. And this is the first time they've gotten shown as a boxing gym. And this was a really great opportunity to share my work with Kansas City, because as you guys probably know, the least often you get to show your work is for the people who live the closest, because you're just not a commodity for where you live. So actually producing the show myself allowed me to have a great opportunity to show folks that I know what I make, and have an opportunity to make a very huge quilt. You can see the musician in the back there underneath that quilt, kind of for scale. And yeah, I was just able to show a lot of different pieces that I've been working on. I've been working on about 3 or 4 different shows. I made a show that was supposed to travel Japan a year ago, which clearly didn't. I'm working on a show that I'm trying to court a gallery here in Kansas City, and I'm working on some shows for a gallery in Asheville, North Carolina. So I got to show little bits of all of those coming together. So it was a really fun night. We had a taco truck and band and bar and all the good stuff that you need for a good opening. So it was really fun. And anyway, wanted to show a little bit about that to everybody. And now I want to hear about Russell, because that's what I'm here for. I mean, if anyone has any questions, obviously I'm certainly happy to answer now, or email me, message me, whatever. But always happy to talk about my work. But
Luke, I
really,
just want to say it's a marvel. That show's an absolute marvel to see what you just threw together.
well, thanks very much. I genuinely think it's probably one of the best shows that I've produced of my own work. The lighting was great. The venue was great. I mean, just everything kind of converged together to make a great exhibition. So I really appreciate you saying that. It means a lot. It was a lot. I mean, throw it together is artist shorthand for you don't sleep for 6 months, right? It wasn't just overnight, except for the hanging. That was just overnight, and that was we had this heat wave in Kansas City. It was in the high 90s, and the church from 130 years ago turns out doesn't have any air conditioning. So the higher you got, kind of on the scaffolding, the more kind of heat wave you're going through. But yeah, I'm pleased with it. Glad I got some pictures. Sad it was only one night only, but.
Well, Luke, one of the things that I marvel at is sometimes when I do exhibitions, I think it was so much work to have like a line in a resume and a cute Instagram post, and like can be challenged. Sometimes you sell things, sometimes you don't. And for me, it can just be a challenge. Like, do I want to put that much time into an exhibition? And I feel really just, it's a marvel that you put so much time and energy into getting your work out there so frequently. And it's no small feat. It is a lot of work. And I think too, it's a lot of asking, like just what you were saying, that little line about you're working on a gallery in Kansas City and you're working on, I think maybe some people in the quilt world don't really know as well. You have got to ask rather than wait to be asked. Would you say that that's a truth?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people only ask you if they know who you are to ask, right? I mean, you don't, it's so you have to, or I mean, what do they say in sort of business school? Nobody remembers, people remember your name after the 7th iteration or something like that. So it's your job to say it the first 6 times before they kind of come around to ask you. So, I've definitely knocked on a lot of doors, and to some success and to some major kind of embarrassment failure. But I'm always actively courting museums, collectors, galleries, exhibition spaces, where I live, where I don't live, where there's just no possibility of a chance, because maybe that'll cycle through and, I'll get a call from the MoMA in a decade or something, who knows? But it's sort of, again, my job to keep name recognition alive and as best I can. So.
And I'd be curious because
Heidi, you're muted.
No,
I
I'm
see you
not
talking, but you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Other people can hear me.
Oh my God, I was muted. I muted my. Why am I so bad at technology? It's not like I use it every day of my life. I bump the mute. Oh, Lordy me. Thanks everyone for coming along on Luke Hines' technology.
But yeah, I was thinking, there's so many, and especially with Zach now transitioning his career, we've had a lot of fun, private conversations about the to-do list is always a mile long, and how do you decide which thing to do, which thing to work on? And I know for you, for a long time, like one of the top things on your to-do list is exhibitions. And like, I'd love to know a little bit about like, why is that? Because I have my own thoughts around why that's so high on your to-do list, but I feel like it's just so interesting that you have prioritized that, and you then open doors for quilts, I would say in general, in doing that. And like,
I mean, I definitely I try to open doors. I mean, I was never the first and certainly never the best, but I try to be, if nothing, the loudest or something, but exhibition, because I found my priority, my value as being a maker. I want to make quilts, and if I can support myself off selling those, which I have for 17 years, that's great. And I need people to see those objects to buy them. As everyone here knows, it's way more interesting to see a quilt in person than a picture, and it's way more interesting to see a picture than hearing about it, right? All these sort of diminishing returns as you go down. So the more exhibitions I have, the more opportunity people have to see them, which you know, whether it supports me or not is the thing I want to do. I think quilts are beautiful, and I'm a maker. I make somewhere between 4 and 50 quilts a year, and I want people to see those, and I want to show them, and I want to sell them, and I want to inspire with them, and et cetera down the line. And the more people I can get to see them, the better for me and the better for all of us.
Mhm.
So that's why exhibitions are kind of the most important thing for me.
Yeah. Did you have any like formative childhood, youthful experiences going to exhibitions? Like moments where, no.
No, that was all kind of later. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I studied architecture, so obviously environment and exhibition is a really big part of the kind of mental acrobatics you do through that sort of program. But yeah, that all kind of came later.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Russell.
Russell.
How do I follow that? Goodness me. At the other end of the spectrum, let me just share my content. Oh, hang on, what am I doing?
You got this, Russell.
I do, I know how. Hang on. Sorry.
There we go. Now we see it. Y'all, Russell was on an overnight train from Scotland to London last night. Didn't get any sleep last night or today.
Can everyone see this? Can that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
can see what I'm doing. Okay, though. So yeah, as I say, I'm.
Hey, Russell, we can't see your face all of a sudden though. Is there a reason? Did you turn off your in the bottom left corner of your?
I don't
I don't think I can do
Oh,
both.
maybe from an iPad or something.
It's because I'm on an iPad. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
apologies.
There's only. All right. Well, we can hear you and we can see what you're showing.
This is very advanced for me, but not for everyone else. Yeah, so I thought I just made a sort of short list of you know, what I find joyful about quilting and why I started, and I've got a small selection of photos that support all that. So this is the first quilt I ever made before I ever intended to make quilts. As I say, I come from a background of props design and costume, and I've been in the fashion world for many years, and I built up this stash of fabrics, a lot of which I didn't know what to do with. I just loved and I would buy. So I just I wanted to sort of start using them up, and I just started laying them out one day. And the two items of clothing that you can see on there are pieces of clothing I made for myself, which I'd sort of fallen out of love with wearing. And the trousers, you can see, were kind of threadbare. You can see the back of the trousers through the dots.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so I just thought it was kind of it was almost like dancing. It was a bit cartoony, and just about everything in this is a cut off of something I'd made, or projects that didn't happen, or something else, taken apart cushions and such. The bottom right hand corner is a little embroidery I started when I was a teenager, and I've been carrying this with me, and I just put it all together. And yeah, and it was before the actual quilting of the thing it was sort of secondary to just the design and layering everything. And I sort of started this way of layering rather than patchwork. I have to apologize because I might not use all the right terms, because I'm not totally up to scratch with all the right things, but correct me if I'm way off. So yeah, that was the first, and I made a few in a series of that. This photo is screen grabbed off Instagram, so it's a wee bit grainy. This was one I made around the same time, and again, it was featuring my own clothes and various offcuts, and you can see some shapes of sleeves and things in there that I had. And it wasn't kind of working. There was a lot going on, and putting the dots on it was just a way of bringing it all together and sort of making it a piece. And it was just original wall hanging that you can see as gaffer tapes to my bedroom wall at the time.
Circles like turned edge applique or raw edge applique?
They're not, it's just raw edge. Actually not so much now, but I was going to say most of my dots are raw edge, but now I've started to turned edge more often, because I quite enjoy the sort of meditative process of it. But no, this was I think all the edges on this are actually raw. And even the dots, the white dots down the blue bit to the left, I just cut in the fabric, and then I did actually sew around them, but it's still raw edged. And I've recently resurrected this one, and I've basted it, and it's all ready to start actual quilting, which is fun, which is quite exciting. So yeah, inspirations, Yayoi Kusama, the Queen of Dots and the Queen of my heart. I mean, I don't know if, I assume most people are familiar with her work, but she's obviously well known for her dots, and her whole story. They're very deeply rooted in her sort of mental health and visions she's had, and sometimes it ends up in a dark place, but the majority of it is about the infinity of love and joy, and the colors and the shapes, and the dots are just right up my street. I'm absolutely in love with her. This was a more recent piece that I did, and all of my work is very joyful, and I'm sort of quite proud and adamant about that. But occasionally I have dark moments that you might not get from looking at the work, and I sort of, as I've delved in to sort of peel back the layers of what my inspirations are, a lot of it comes from my childhood and upbringing, my teenage years, and this was kind of about that. There's 2 shirts on that represent my childhood and my teenage years, and then there's the one that is more recent, that's in sort of adulthood, and including sort of 80s fabrics from my childhood, and the cartoony, not Avengers, what are they called? Transformers on there, and then the pink dots just again brought it all to life. And yeah, there's various fabrics in there that were clothes that I've loved over the years. So yeah, there's a lot going on that, and I really like bananas, so there's bananas on that as well. Betty Woodman, the ceramicist. I'm sure a lot of people already know her work, but I'm a huge fan of her. Again, shapes, colors, texture. I'm just in awe of it. I absolutely love her work, and she directly inspired this bit, which is just a vase cover, which I posted out recently on Instagram. Again, it is quilted fabric. It's all scraps that I have an embellishing machine that just sort of felts it all together, and then I over quilted it and decided to cut the holes in it, and it took me a hell of a longer than I intended. But unfortunately, the vase that I used initially was cracked, so the water has stained half of it, sadly. But it's got its own story, you know. And I had intended to make a series of those, but it took me so flaming long to do it that I sort of put it on the back burner. But yeah, I love it, and that's my Betty Woodman inspiration. More dots from Eric Carl. The Hungry Caterpillar has always been a favourite of mine, and that sort of graphics. Again, the little cutouts rather than appliquing on is something I've done in the past as well. Love a bit of that. Comme des Garçons, the fashion house. The work that they've produced over the years. I mean, as I say, I came from working in the fashion world. I've worked in fashion retail all my adult life, and Comme des Garçons has always been one of my favourite brands, and they're a huge inspiration. The polka dot, not the polka dots, the flowers standing in for polka dots on the bottom right directly influenced the flowers on this one, which are a pair of my old socks that I decided to quilt, sort of humorous and quirky. The stitching on that, it took forever, and I've really been enjoying getting to know Heidi's hand yoga techniques, because this ruined my hands doing this. It really was a nightmare, but I mean, the effect is good.
That's all a hand quilted seed stitch.
Oh yeah, yes, exactly, yeah.
Stitch.
Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing, but I found it afterwards. Somebody told me that, I think, on Instagram. But I think I put too many layers of fabric, I think, is the flowery pattern of sort of 90s sort of Golden Girls fabric out of the lanai is really, really tough to sew through. It's a bit of a nightmare. But that was that.
Russell, I was just going to jump in and
yeah,
a little bit, because one of our earliest conversations was about that sock quilt that you and I had. because I
was
was
it?
curious about the back of it.
Oh yes.
Because the back is,
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
just-
you don't have it up, but
no.
it's super neat. It's as neat as the front. You were very
Yeah.
precise as you were doing this.
And he actually, after we'd had that conversation, I was sort of debating about doing a piece with that, because the back of this is mainly black, and to maybe do a piece where I work on the front or the back, and then the back becomes the front, and that's the party at the back is the thing, and to make that the front. Because yeah, I think it's sort of, it's beautiful with the wee stitches. So this one, I don't have a full picture of this quilt. Years ago, I went to the main, possibly only as far as I'm aware, big quilt show in Britain, in England, is the Festival of Quilts that they do annually. And the first time I went, I was totally overwhelmed by it all, because it was so far removed from what I felt I was doing. And this quilt, and sadly, I didn't write down who it was by. It was called My First Quilt, and I don't know the full story behind it, but it was lots of very different fabrics, upholstery and sort of antique looking, and then this piece of like children's bedspread. And they'd embroidered very loosely these sort of birds all over it. And the whole quilt was very saggy as it hung on the wall, and it was very lumpy. But I just loved it because somebody had had the passion to enter this into this competition, and it was so not like anything else there. I don't know if a child made it, I don't know, but I don't know the story. But I think about this quilt fairly regularly, and I wish I had a full picture of it, because it was so well, joyful, I suppose. I loved it.
Well, in our hive mind, anybody knows who made that quilt?
I was
track
wondering. Yeah. I would love it if somebody came back and went, actually, that's mine. Don't slide it off. So yeah, and that's the end. That's me in a massive patchwork shirt that I made out of secondhand shirts I bought. I had people on Instagram asking if it was a statement about overconsumption, which in hindsight, maybe it is, but it was my overconsumption at the secondhand shop of shirts. But yeah, that's it.
Like
that's
real big or real small can just be real joyful also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's a lot. How do I come back? Where's him gone? There. Stop share. There we are.
So Russell, I got a question, if I can jump in.
Yep.
And y'all feel free in the audience, type your questions.
Please do.
What are you working on now? Where do you see yourself going in the near future?
Well, I'm working on bits. It was funny, Heidi, you said earlier about trying to work on smaller pieces, which I would really like to do, partly because of time, but also people are less inclined, I feel certainly in Britain, to purchase larger pieces. So making them smaller, not like I can sort of fire them out, but it just makes it slightly easier. And also to just maybe do more stitch work. So I'm not having to do a massive thing, but generally I start off small. I've been working on this one while I've been away, which is lots of different fabrics and bits. That's a bit I did previously. And then I appliqued all those on.
Like, do you know Libs Elliott yet? She's Canadian. She's collaborated with Luke. Liv.
I was just going to ask that same thing.
Because the stripy circle is really in her wheelhouse. We gotta.
Oh, I'll need to look her up.
Yeah.
But I start this. I often start this size, and then I'm like, oh, do you know what would look nice? I could add an extra border, and then the border gets bigger and bigger, and suddenly I'm doing a full bed quilt, and I'm like, how did I get back to spending the next month of my life quilting this? So yeah, I really need to be more strict with myself. But so yeah, that is what I've been working on most recently.
So I have a question, if I may.
Yeah.
So it's a question that I like to ask about people's engagement with sort of quilts as objects, right? I remember years ago, I was working with Moda, it's a fabric producer company, you know, huge everywhere in the world. They have factories in 17 countries. They have a factory in one because they print better, a factory in another one because they weave better, a factory in another one because they like they're doing the work. It's amazing. And the owner was on a board with me, and I was talking about a lot of stuff. And I asked him, I said, "Oh, Mark, do you use a quilt?" And he said, "No, absolutely not. I don't have a quilt on my bed. I've got a duvet cover. Like, why would I use a quilt on my, you know, this is he built it from the ground up, you know, it's fabric notions, whatever. So, you know, this is just a big part of everything. It's a huge company, but he's like, oh, I don't have a quilt on my bed. Why would I do that? You know? And I just think that's so interesting because, you know, people have different ways of engaging with quilts as objects, as sort of function, but also scale has a big part of that. So my question sort of is more of a, you know, tell me about what you think about quilts. So you've been making quilts with holes in them, and certainly scale work. And the earlier work all seemed to be kind of quilt size, but you know, now as you're putting holes and scaling down, I mean, do you have one on your bed? You know, what do you?
I sometimes do during the winter. That first quilt I made, it was wider than it is shorter. And I never really have set out to do a certain size, but I had the intention after I decided it was going to be a quilt to just put it over like the foot part of your bed, so to warm your feet, you know, because that's feet pop out the duvet, and you know. So I did my first few that they were all, I mean, I suppose they'd be single bed sized, but I would have them the other way around to have on the end of the bed because it's sort of a way to see it as well. But then I decided, oh, well, yeah, I'll do a actual, you know, king size, square size. But I go through phases where I love the idea of it being a functional thing. And then I'll do something mad, like sew on some plastic hazard tape or something. And I'm like, well, I can't wash this anyway. So what was the point in that? So and now I'm trying to do them smaller anyway. So I sort of flip between the two extremes, really. And then, you know, the sort of art part of my head is like, yeah, let's just have a border. Let's just put holes on the whole thing. And like, but also with the holes one that I started doing, I love the idea of that, you know, in a different space. If it was hung, you could totally see through it. And that's a sort of whole other dimension to it. Yeah, so I'm sort of between both, and I love both for however they seem to be intended to be made. Also, I have a really small washing machine, so I can't put a double-sized quilt in there to wash. Yeah, so yeah, and because everything I use is from secondhand shops or charity shops, I tend to use thread or wool that I've bought as well, so I can't always guarantee what it's going to do when it's washed anyway. So if the ones I've sold to people to use as quilts, I've said, like, spot wash them or hand wash them if you can. Don't go crazy, you know, and don't let people eat food near them. Don't get too dirty, because I can't promise you that it's not going to come out the size of a postage stamp, you know.
How are you finding working small? And this could be a question for Russell, for anybody that would like to respond, because there are challenges that come with shrinking from a bed-sized quilt to something smaller. But some people like it, some people don't. Like, how are you finding it?
I like it. I mean, when you do needle-turned polka dots, the smaller they get, the more horrendously fiddly it gets. So that's irritating. But I quite like it because sometimes, you know, sometimes it's nice to do a quilt on your lap and it's really sort of cozy and nice in the winter. But then come summer, you're like, I just wish I had a handkerchief-sized thing I could hold away from my body and do because it's too hot. But I think it's nice because it draws you towards a different design maybe, or a different aesthetic, because just the proportions are so different. And my smaller ones, I don't tend to bind all the time either. I sometimes leave them hanging raw. So yeah, just because of the proportions.
And Heidi, you've been making a lot of small pieces lately.
Yeah, like, these small ones I made a while back, and I feel like now my style's a little different. Like, I wouldn't make this one now. Making something practical is sometimes a nice way in. So like working on this, I think was helpful for me thinking about small. I just did a commission that I need to share some photos of, and it's 2 feet wide by 3 feet tall. And I love how it turned out, but even just shrinking down, because I've done some 3 feet by 3 feet. Normally the piece that's over my shoulder when I'm zooming is that size. And to just lose that 3 foot strip and to do a rectangle instead of square was like, I felt a little bewildered. So it's a challenge to me. Partly it's also a struggle to like, how can it look right hanging on a wall? So I found I put some little loops. If this were a quilt for the wall, I would put some little loops at the top so you can see the loops rather than having it float and hang invisibly. And that seems lately to make it feel more anchored, because I've also done some small 16 by 16 square quilts lately with the Makery and the Stitching Together Kindness class that we're going to run again in September. And for that, I put 2 little loops, and it felt kind of grounding. Because I mean, I don't know that everything needs to be stretched on wood if it's small. For a long time, that was my solution. If it was small, it would be like this. But then it suddenly is hard to store and real fragile, and it loses some of the things that I love about it being a quilt. So that's been kind of an interesting solution for me lately. And I'm in
also, when it's very small, you can if you do a big thing that is not squared off in some way, bits of it kind of flap down depending on how it's hung. So if it's smaller and it's got the loops, you've got more kind of room to play with an unusual shape if that's what you want to do.
I feel excited about that too. Yeah, like what if it curved at the bottom, or
exactly.
Yeah.
I love how one limitation opens up the possibility for other.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And Russ, I've got questions all day. So I mean, at any point anyone has something else, just dive right in. Or Heidi, I think you can mute me, whatever. But well, look, I can mute myself actually better. Let me just sort of whatever. So Russell, one thing that I've been thinking about recently as a person who uses clothing, right? I take clothing, I deconstruct it, I make it flat. It's about quilts. We talk about quilts. We talk about fabric, blah blah blah. Well, have you gone the other way? I mean, there's a big movement about, quilts to clothing, and, certainly a lot of reclaimed older quilts have been made into couture jackets and, dresses and pantsuits and whatever. But, I've not seen I've not seen as much sort of modern quilts, abstract, kind of improv situation going backwards. I mean, is that something, as a person who's 2 feet of fashion, like
I've only ever once tried to quilt. I was doing a sleeve once and I tried to do a quilted sleeve. But I just started doing it without any sort of research into the process. And the action of quilting it was too small too small for the armhole. So I kind of ruined my thing that I was doing and I had to stay up all night to do something else. But there's a lot of companies that do stuff that out of old quilts and make that I really like. I'm not a fan of all of it. I think it's maybe sometimes it comes off as a bit I don't know, a bit twee sometimes. But it is something I'd like to investigate. I'll eventually get around to it. It's certainly on my list of things to do.
More wondering about sort of your own work. Like if you could, one thing that I really like doing, and that's sort of a secret, is if you make the quilt top and you hire someone else to construct the garment out of it, then you don't have to learn how to be a tailor. And that, that saved me decades of my life so that I can make one project. But I mean, it would be interesting to kind of see this sort of reversal. And, and maybe it's sort of too kind of glib to say, well, you made it out of clothes, but make it back into clothes. So maybe you lose a lot of the qualities in that. But I was just curious, if that's something that's kind of on your radar or you're interested in, or.
I mean, not specifically that. I've been doodling to make quilts in the shape of clothing, but they wouldn't actually be wearable. So literally like a t-shirt shape,
Yeah.
and it's quilted. And whether that would actually be a t-shirt or just fabric shaped into a t-shirt, I don't know that shape. But I certainly doodle that in my books a lot.
I mean, there's some great work, like Rauschenberg did some, I think I'm right about, it's either Rauschenberg or Koons did some mattresses in the exact shape of someone's
Yeah,
sleep. You know, so-
yeah, I like those. But also the quilt that I made with the holes in it, anytime I've shown that to a friend, everyone puts it on their shoulder. And so I've seen, you know, like, what do they call it? That's a drapey clothing, it's got a name. Anyway, I can't remember. But just so a massive sheet with 2 holes, put it on, and hey, you've got a little shawly cardigan thing.
Melissa says a shrug.
A shrug, yeah, I mean, that's just a shrug, yeah. But something like that, I would be well up for making. Yeah, eventually.
Or just a Snuggie. I don't know if you guys had Snuggies over in the UK, but it's just everyone made
The
fun
whole
of
thing.
it, you know. Yeah.
Quilted Snuggies, yeah, maybe.
Well, Russell, I feel intrigued to like talk circles for a second, because you were saying the smaller you get with the circles, the fussier it is. And I do love a circle. I'm going to show off. Like, look at this nice little circle, right?
Yeah.
See the size?
Yeah.
How round. I'm not really known for being a precision quilter. When I when I want to do a real perfect circle, the technique that I do that I love is I find a cereal box or cracker box or something, and I take a jar or whatever, something round, and I trace my circle and cut it out with a scissors. And then I wrap my fabric around that cardboard circle. You with me?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I cut the circle a little bit bigger out of fabric.
Yeah.
Then I take a piece of aluminum foil, I lay the 3 down. So I put the aluminum foil on my table. I put the fabric on the foil. Then I put the cardboard on top, and then I wrap the foil around. It holds everything in place perfect. Stomp down on it with my iron, let it cool a minute because it's real hot. So you let it cool. You do a bunch of them, you know, you cut out a bunch of circles, you iron a bunch. Then when you sew it down, you use the ladder stitch or something that doesn't have to go through the cardboard, and you can leave the cardboard in place while you sew around. And then you go in the back and you cut a little hole and you pull out the cardboard and you can reuse it again.
Nice.
And take the fastest, most perfect circle. That's not what you do right now, right?
I'm going to have to try that.
This is like
my mind.
a top tip from Wisconsin to you.
I'm going to try that. That's
It's
when do you take off the
fast,
foil?
elegant. What's that, Luke?
When you take the foil off, so you iron it and the foil just keeps it together, then you peel it.
Yeah, you peel the foil off and it is like set. And you don't have to leave the cardboard there. You can easily just take the fabric off at that point and it will hold real well. And I haven't even bothered to use starch, but like, if you wanted to level up, you could do a little starch and it would be but yeah, you can do it leaving the cardboard in or without the cardboard, but it gives you that extra level of perfection with the cardboard in. But it's got acid and stuff in it, so don't leave it forever. It'll, you know, 20 years from now, your quilt will be eaten up.
Use acid-free cardstock, then you're good to go.
Then you could, yeah, and then it could have a real stiff, interesting thing happening. But yeah. It's so good.
Russell's gonna stay up all night cutting cardboard circles.
And it doesn't have to be just circles too. Like one time I made a whole silhouette of a rabbit with that technique and it worked great. I just sewed, like I stitched on, I used a lot of extra thread and I just sewed that fabric around that cardboard rabbit real well. And then I, you know, ripped it all out from the back and it worked great.
You could do lettering as well.
Yeah, you could do any shape you want.
Anything that's a bit fiddly.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Inspiration. How you like that? Well, if there aren't any closing comments, I feel like we should let Russell get to bed.
Yeah, you've been up
He's
a
had a long
long
day.
time.
Been a long day.
Oh, Marilyn's requesting a circle workshop.
Mhm.
That'd be a fun thing to collaborate on.
I was about to say Russell Heidi Circle
Mhm.
Workshop.
Mhm.
Think about it.
I
Great
like
tip. Nice.
that.
All right. Well, I'm going to say at this point that as soon as we get the recording upload to YouTube, which is her
My
business,
job.
then we'll send it out. So you'll have a recording if you want to follow up on
Mhm.
anything. I told people I would take them back to the bedroom. So if you want to stick around to see my bed, my long arm, you can.
Yeah. Your bed with a
Otherwise,
quilt on it.
otherwise, don't feel any pressure. You don't have to stick around.
This is the late night version.
Yeah, the late night. Here we go.
Mhm.
Now, are you-
Yeah, and Kate is asking about keeping in touch with Russell's work. And certainly if you look up Russell Barratt, you will find him. And also in our thank you email, our follow-up email, we will have links to everybody's details. And this will also be posted on YouTube, and in the comments, all of our details will be on there. My Amazon shop that I, so you can see what everything is, that will be in the comments. And so you'll have
I have a
access
list.
to details in the thank
I-
you as well as in the comments on YouTube.
I have my list of Heidi's things I need to buy there. It's like so many good things.
Applique pins and cereal.
I need those fingery things as well.
Oh, they're
Audrey.
wonderful. I will have a link for that also because I get mine from a company called Snuggly Monkey, which I think is in North Carolina where you're from. And I've got a $5 off coupon link. So, and it's like $5 for a package of 2. So it's a real good coupon. And it's nice to support a small independent
Can you put that in
business.
the thank you
That
letter?
will be, yeah, that will be in the thank you letter and on the YouTube. Yeah.
Y'all, and remember, if you won prizes, Tears, I'm looking at you. If you won prizes,
Mhm.
reach out to either me or Heidi.
Yeah.
Because Laura won your quilt pattern, right?
Laura probably already bought my quilt pattern. I'm gonna have to think of something appropriate for my
Okay.
friend Laura.
Laura and Heidi, y'all work that out. But reach out, let us know so we can get you your
Mhm.
prizes.
Mhm.
And Luke, any last words, pearls of wisdom?
Look, I don't have a one to begin with, so no last pearls of wisdom to.
First pearls of wisdom.
First pearls of wisdom. Thanks, everyone. And Russell, it's a real joy. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Lots of questions.
No, I loved it. I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm such a fan of all 3 of your work. So it was amazing to meet you and chat with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been nice. And thank y'all at home for joining us, wherever you're joining us from. I hope you've gotten some tidbits and some good ideas, some inspiration from it.
And let us know what you think about this casual different flavor. If you have ideas on a new flavor we can try too. We just don't want to do the same exact thing every time.
Like, did you like the game? One of us is very curious to know if you like the game. We're not gonna say who it is. All right, I'm out of here because I'm gonna go show you the long arm. Stick around if you want to, otherwise, really, no hard feelings.
Okay. Yeah, and that'll be on your phone. So I'll make sure I mute over here. Mary says the game was great.
Thanks, Mary.
Marilyn, we had a little issue in advertising a couple different times. Zach, anyways, yeah, we started at 5 Eastern. And even though we accidentally advertised 6. But it will be on YouTube real soon. Might take me an extra day than normal since I'm on vacation with my friend Zach, but it will be there soon. Yeah, thank you for asking. And thank you for being here, Marilyn. It's wonderful to see you. Okay, I'm muting over here so that Zach can turn his sound on.
Right. You better mute it, Heidi. You got it? Okay. Okay, so please remember I didn't make my bed or anything, but this will give you a little sneak preview. Okay, so one, you'll remember this quilt. It's a burial quilt. It is on my bed because it's going to happen eventually. Then here's the long arm machine.
All right, let me hold this.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Heidi. I can't
Your
hold you one.
assistant is here.
Thank you. Okay, so as you can tell, this bedroom is 12 feet wide and my long arm is 11. Isn't that cute?
Mm-hmm.
So it just barely fits. In case of fire, my partner and I have exactly 18 inches to get out to the fire escape.
You guys walk a lot because you're New Yorkers, though.
Yeah,
So.
so we'll just slide right through. But I have a project currently loaded. I've not actually started sewing yet. But this is a memory quilt that actually I just posted on Instagram 30 minutes before this call, so I haven't even been seeing what people said about it. But it's getting long arms. And in the meantime, because it's a 1-bedroom apartment, I got to make the use of all the space. So this is also where I store my quilts on top. When it comes time to sew, I have to take everything off, put it on the bed. But that's the thing about quilting is after you've been quilting for a while, it takes up a lot of room. And so that's part of my new workflow that I was talking to Heidi about recently, that I don't think I'm going to start quilting everything I make. I'm just going to make the quilt top, hold up the quilt top until I want to actually finish that project, maybe to sell it or to show it, because that takes up a lot less room.
And you're cultivating some good relationships where maybe you don't have to long arm everything yourself as well, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I got my friend Melissa down in Birmingham. She's going to start helping me out with this, which is I'm thankful for.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look underneath, what kind of surprises do we have down here?
Well, I don't even know what those are.
This is all my little long arm tools. This is where I store thread and my little bits, my bobbles, my scissors and such.
Marilyn says you are the Marie Kondo of quilting.
Oh my God, you're very generous.
That is a beautiful comment.
This is junky, but thank you so much. It's so kind. Anybody that has a long arm might find these helpful. These are like surgical equipment tweezers that when you have to rip out seams and sometimes the little cut off thread stitches get stuck, you can get in there and get them out real easy with those. I like those. Two other things I would like to have in my long arm. A horsehair brush for when you rip seams. So just a quick way to get all those little bits of thread up. And of course,
Yeah.
there's that as well.
All of us quilters know what that is.
These are postcards for people that buy postcard quilts. So they're
for
pre-packaged, ready
Patreon.
to go. So when people place an order, I can just come in here,
Mm-hmm.
get one out nice and easy. What else? This is a mixer I found off the
Kitchenaid.
street. I'm so excited. It's fantastic. Perfect shape. Just doesn't have a bowl or paddles. Back to long arming. So I have these.
No idea what that is.
Yeah, and I don't know what I'm a bigger fan of. But you pin your quilt backing, top, and all that to the leaders, these parts of the fabric that are permanently attached to the long arm. And somebody came up with this bright idea that you could have a pin-free way of attaching your quilt top to the leader. I kind of like that, but some pins are easy enough.
Mm.
So I've been doing pins lately. Folks, that might be about it. You can show my little sitting area if you want. This is where I come from, my quiet space. And so I have my banner of the year, 2020, because that's the year we're still in, right? Never got around to 2021. I've got pictures of family members who have passed. Aunt Rosie, my Aunt Sue. Hang in there, Sue.
Crochet.
Yeah, Travis made her that blanket. Anyway, look, we'll just take that. There we go. There's Aunt Sue. She just passed away a couple years ago. And then, fun things I find in nature. Turkey feathers and bits of deer hair. Here's some old relatives. All kinds of things. But this is where I come sit and be quiet.
To get to see. Yeah. And is that smoky quartz?
Smoky quartz. So one of the things I do when I'm sitting and meditating is, as a kind of focus activity, I'll hold this in my hand. And then when it stops feeling cool to me, then I know that I've sat long enough to start right when it's absorbed the temperature of my hand. Yeah. This is a way of focusing.
Yeah, that's a beautiful space.
Yeah, thank you. Somebody asked me recently what, it was, I'm blanking on the name. From Soulcraft, Australia, Felicia Simple. She asked me, what is my most prized handmade object? And an unlikely candidate came to mind. It was actually this bookend. And so I'll show you this. And this will be the last
That's
thing.
an
Then we can wrap it
intarsia.
up.
Like an inlaid.
No, actually it's not. So
Stain?
when I was a young kid, my dad made 3 book ends, one for me, one for my 2 brothers. And he put down tape and then we stained over it and then we peeled off the tape. And I've had this, you can see it's just screwed onto a normal like office bookend. But I've had this ever since I was a little boy. And it's traveled with me to all the places I've ever lived. And so this for some reason, when she asked me, what's the most valuable handmade object you own? This is the first thing that came to mind, which I hadn't anticipated.
Collaboration.
So
I love that, you know, when you wake up in the morning, you see your spoon quilt. That's a travel quilt that you made.
Sure is. So everything underneath was a hand-pieced, hand-sewn quilt that in and of itself was a thing of beauty, right? It's a really beautiful quilt. So many of these fabrics are things I would never work with, but like the lady I was staying with gave me this, gave me like this hot pink lacy trim, right? And so I think of her so much when I look at this quilt. But then as I was walking around,
That's your piping.
Oh,
and
that's my
this one we
piping.
shared a lot about, was it last month or the month before?
yeah, a couple months ago, I believe.
Repurposed
Yeah, yeah.
materials. Yeah.
And so these are the spoons I found and then attached
Yeah.
to the quilt itself.
That's where it lives.
This way it lives, exactly. So welcome to my home.
Yeah.
Next time I'll clean up for you, okay?
Yeah, Zach has one of the most beautiful homes. You really have a creative eye. I love this patchwork as well. Declare the great yes.
Yo. It's a line from a Cavafy poem.
Yes. All right.
Okay, hope you enjoyed the bonus reel. Thanks for coming by.
All right. Bye.
See you next time.
Leave us some nice comments. Okay. Change our volume to be.
How do I?
Russell and Luke, maybe hang out for a second? No, Luke's already gone.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, Russell. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was a lovely conversation. Absolutely brilliant.
I'll need to watch it back because it was an absolute blur to me.
Well, listen, you started talking on your favorite things and it just, the truth came out.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That was good. I'm so pleased that you asked. It's been wonderful. So yeah.
Maybe we'll do a follow-up one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
be fun.
Get back together.
I love
Well,
the
have a
idea of
nice.
yeah, I love it.
Say what?
Russell Heidi circle workshop. It could be like a mini thing.
Yeah.
Like a quickie.
Mm-hmm.
Different
Yeah,
ways
like
to
an
do
hour.
circles.
Spend an hour with us. We'll do
Yeah.
circles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and Luke's not here, but I think we're pretty settled
I
on
think
our
so.
next guest for camp.
Are we?
I don't know, maybe not enough to say, but we think we know.
And it's exciting,
Oops.
but let's
What
just
to
confirm.
add. Yeah, but we have a very exciting guest in the works. I've met the guest in person.
I have not.
Yeah, Luke's met the guest in person, so it'll be a good one. Oh, I'm having so much fun visiting you. In
I know,
person.
you don't
It's been
even-
a while.
You're having so much fun. You don't want to stop the call.
I know.
You just like want to keep that party
Yeah.
going. Heidi's the one that shuts the bar down.
All right, here we
Just
go.
kidding.
I know.
Bye, everybody.
I gotta
Bye,
go out and cheer for
Megan.
the Bucks because it's Wisconsin.
Bye, bye, bye,
Bye.
bye, bye, bye.